Okay. We are now recording. Let me share my screen.
Sorry. I was
Did you have a
having issue with-
question?
I am having book access error for that.
Hold on, let me stop. Oh, that is my virtual. What is it doing when you try to go to it? What's it saying?
It says you don't have access to this book. Back to library. And book
And
access
have
error.
you logged in previously and done added the code that you got through the mail?
Let me see. I only saw the 2 codes. Is there a third code?
Thought that that's all you needed. Has anyone else that's been able to access the ebook? Did you guys have to do? Yeah, in the pile 3 codes. So German says there should be 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 codes. One, which one is it? The VitaSource one comes with a code on the main page and then another code on the second.
I found it.
Okay,
All right, thank
perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Let me get back to, is there any questions anymore? Any user you guys saw my they had an outage. Yes, there was one thing. They gave me a resource, and I want to warn you, they did tell me that this is a manually updated resource, which means that if it goes out in the middle of the night, you are not getting a live version of this. But I thought that this might help some of us not want to pull our hair out and go, is there something down? Because I wish I had known this because I didn't even know they had this link. Okay, they have a service at this one right here. They have a Zendesk. Yes, it's about the labs. They have a service interruptions link. In fact, let me go put that out in Discord. It is like she told me, it's manually updated. So if it goes out in the middle of the night when they don't have someone on shift, okay, it's out there. Then it may not be giving you like a recent one if it's in the middle of the night. Yeah, it's a down detector basically. But that way we at least have a little bit more of an update. Because if I had known about this, I could have gone out and gone like, okay, so there's a site with a major service outage. Because I guess in Tampa, Florida, they had for like 2 days, one of their centers was down. So that's what actually happened.
Wouldn't a down detector be automatic versus this is like them manually inputting that, oh, this is down?
Yeah, I don't really know what that's about, but that's what we've got. So I figured it was better than nothing. Cat, stop being a jerk.
The other words, the human factor is still the limiting factor.
Yeah, you know how it is. But it's better than nothing. Okay, so tonight, enumeration is the last one we're going to go over. And these are the learning objections. I can't tell I've been doing too much reading today. Learning objectives, enumeration concepts, different techniques that we're going to go through. And then we are, of course, going to talk about some countermeasures. Okay. So what is enumeration? This involves the attacker creating active connections with a target system and performing directed queries to gain more information about the target. Attackers use the extracted information to identify points for a system attack and perform password attacks to gain unauthorized access to information system resources. Enumeration techniques are conducted in an intranet environment. So before we were talking about things which are on the internet, this is on the intranet. So you've gotten through the outside, and this is as you get into the next level. Techniques. extract usernames using email IDs, extract information using default passwords, brute force Active Directory, extract information using DNS zone transfers, extract user groups from Windows, extract usernames using SNMP. I'm sure you're noticing a theme here, and that theme is extraction. So when you think about enumeration, think extraction. All right, now this is a nice little screen if you want to snap it off of the slides. Here are some services and ports to enumerate. We have 53. I do have a little bit of dyslexia when it comes to numbers, so I apologize if you happen to hear me flip a number around, say, that's not right. I will not be mad about you correcting me. So 53 is domain name system or DNS zone transfers. 135 is your Microsoft RPC endpoint mapper. 137 is the NBNS or NetBIOS name service. 139 NetBIOS sessions service. You'll see they say SMB over NetBIOS. 445 SMB over TCP. 161 Simple Network Management Protocol or SNMP. 389, that's your LDAP. 2049, Network File Systems. 25, TCP, that's your simple mail transfers or your mail files. 162, SNMP trap. 500, that's your IKE or Internet Key Exchange. And 22, that's your SSH. Okay, NetBIOS enumeration. NetBIOS is a unique 16 ASCII character string used to identify the network devices over TCP/IP. 15 characters are used for the device name, and the 16th character is reserved for the service name or record type. Attackers use NetBIOS enumeration to obtain a list of computers that belong to your domain, list of shares on the individual host of the network. I will tell you from experience, file shares are a hot place for people to try and hit because people dump all sorts of stuff in there. Policies and passwords, and then you can see there's a NetBIOS name list over there. The NBStat utility in Windows displays NetBIOS over TCP/IP. Protocol statistics, NetBIOS name tables for both local and remote computers, and NetBIOS name cache. So you run NBStat command, you can see that circled in red, and -A, and the IP address, and then you can see the NetBIOS name table. And so you can see that down there, NBStat 10.10.122, and then you can see that they've got that example down there. If you do the NBTstat-C, this obtains the contents of the NetBIOS cache. And you can see that down there. There's your cache there. Enumeration tools for NetBIOS. There's NetBIOS Enumerator, and that's just like a little GUI version of this. It helps to enumerate details like names, usernames, domain names, MAC address for a given IP range. And you can see it has like these nice little drop downs here. So the attackers specify IP range to enumerate NetBIOS information, and then they obtain information such as NetBIOS names, usernames, domain names, and MAC addresses, which are the second one there. And maps, NBStat NSE script, which is being run on Parrot here, is used to retrieve the target's NetBIOS names and MAC addresses. Enumerating user accounts. So using the PS tools suite helps to control and manage remote systems from the command line. And here are some control or some switches for this. PS exec, which is executes processes remotely. PS file shows files opened remotely. PS get SID displays the SID of a computer or user. PS kill kills processes by name or process ID. PS info lists information about a system. PS list lists detailed information about processes. PS logged on shows who is logged on locally and via resource sharing. PS log list dumps event log records. PS password changes account passwords, and then PS shutdown shuts down and optionally reboots a computer. Enumerating shared resources using NetView. NetView utility is used to obtain a list of all the shared resources of a remote host or work group. And there are some commands. You have your NetView computer name or NetView domain name. And you can see here, the top one, they're using the IP address and then a /all. And it's kind of like the TCP/IP config thing /all as similar use case on that particular piece there. And then you can see everything that's dumped down below. SNMP enumeration. This SNMP enumeration is the process of enumerating user accounts and devices on target systems using SNMP. SNMP consists of manager and an agent. Agents are embedded on every network device, and the manager is installed on a separate computer. SNMP holds 2 passwords to access and configure the SNMP agent from the management station. Read community string. It is the public. It's public by default. It allows for viewing of the device/system configuration, and then read/write community string. It's private by default and allows remote editing of the configuration. Attackers use these default community strings to extract information about a device, and then the attacker enumerates SNMP to extract information about the network resources, such as hosts, routers, devices, and shares, and network information, such as ARC tables, routing tables, and traffic. Okay, here's some tools. SNMP walk. This one's a command line tool that allows attackers to scan numerous SNMP nodes instantly and identify a set of variables that are available for accessing the target network. So you can see they have the command, and then you can see everything that it's dumped out on the bottom there. And of course, our favorite one, Nmap, also has an SNMP you can do. You can do the SNMP info NSE script, and then it will go against the SNMP remote server and retrieve information related to those SNMP services. And you can see it's a little bit easier to read too, which is personally why I like Nmap. It has so many different things that you can use, and a lot of them are easy to read. Okay, SNMP check allows you to enumerate the SNMP devices and place the output in a human readable and friendly format. You notice that a lot of these, you just have to get good at reading some of the stuff as it comes up. But as you can see there, it actually has a nicely spaced out readable version. And then there's Soft Perfect Network Scanner. This discovers shared folders and retrieves practically any information about the network devices via WMI, SNMP, HTTP, SSH, and PowerShell. And that's got a nice little GUI interface. All right, LDAP. So LDAP, or Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, is an internet protocol for accessing distributed directory services. Directory services may provide any organized set of records, often in a hierarchical and logical structure, such as a corporate email directory. A client starts an LDAP session by connecting to a directory system agent or a DSA on TCP port 389 that sends an operation request to the DSA. Information's transmitted between the client and server using basic encoding rules. Attacker queries LDAP service to gather information such as valid usernames, addresses, and department details, which can be further used to perform attacks. Manual and automated LDAP enumeration. So manual on the left, automated on the right. On manual, attackers perform manual LDAP enumeration using Python to fetch information. such as domain name, naming, context, and directory objects. And then automated LDAP, they use the LDAP brute NSE script to brute force LDAP in authentication. LDAP and enumeration tools. Softera LDAP Administrator. This one provides various features essential for LDAP development, deployment, and administration of directories. And you can see that has that nice little GUI over there that you can see. And then LDAP search. Attacker uses LDAP search for enumerating AD users, allows the attacker to establish a connection with an LDAP server to perform different searches using specific filters. And you can see you have your string up here with the different commands, and then the red box for what it does. NTP enumeration, or network time protocol. This is designed to synchronize the clocks of network computers. Uses UDP port 123 as its primary means of communication. NTP can maintain a time within 10 milliseconds or 1/100th of a second over public internet. It can achieve accuracies of 200 microseconds or better in local area networks under ideal conditions. Attackers query the NTP server to gather valuable information like a list of connected hosts, clients' IP addresses in a network, their system names, their operating systems. Internal IPs can also be obtained if the NTP server is in the demilitarized zone. Here are some NTP enumeration commands. NTP trace. Traces a chain of NTP servers back to the primary source, and you can see you have your list or your command out there. NTP DC monitors operation of NTP daemon. Then you have NTPQ, monitors the NTP daemon operations and determines performance. Right, here are some NTP enumeration tools. I have used, yes, Grumpy Cat, PRTG Network Monitor is actually really cool. And this also includes the SNTP Sensor Monitor. It's a simple network time protocol server that shows the response time of the server and time difference in comparison to local system time. And that's one of the things I like about PRTG Network Monitor. You can have a really nice little dash that has multiples up that will show you when all sorts of things go down. It's really nice. And then you have your list of other NTP enumeration tools like Nmap and Wireshark over there on the right. NFS enumeration. NFS system is generally implemented on computer network where the centralization of data is required for critical resources. NFS enumeration enables attackers to identify exported directories, list of clients connected to the NFS server, along with their IP addresses and the shared data associated with the IP addresses. So you can see the show mount command and the RPC info command over here on the right. It looks like they're using Ubuntu for that one, and then Parrot for the other, and the results will show you the ports on that. There are some enumeration tools. RP scan, which communicates with RPC services that check misconfigurations on NFS shares, and SuperEnum, which includes a script that does the basic enumeration of any open port. And you can see right here, it's got a nice little red thing that tells you, hey, there's one right there. All right, SMTP enumeration. This provides 3 built-in commands. VRFY or verify validates users. EXPN shows the actual delivery address of aliases and mailing lists. RCPT2 or receipt 2 defines the recipients of a message. SMTP servers respond differently to those three commands for valid and invalid users, based on which we can determine valid users to the SMTP server. Attackers can directly interact with SMTP via the telnet prompt and collect a list of valid users on SMTP server. So here are the different commands. So you have the VRFY, and you can see the difference between each command, and then you have EXPN, and then the RCP2. SMTP enumeration using Nmap and Metasploit. So Nmap, the attackers perform enumeration on the target SMTP server using various SMTP commands. So there's, you can see there's like a little script here, and they're going, you see -P, which is port, and 25. 25 is your mail port, so that's what they're after. Metasploit contains an SMTP enumeration module that allows attackers to connect to the target SMTP server and enumerate usernames using predefined word lists. And you can see those down here. It loads up this section of Metasploit, and then you can see it looking for those right there. And if you see the :25, that tells you again, that's what it's after. Excuse me. SMTP enumeration tools. NetScan Tools Pro. It has an email generator tool tests that which tests the process of sending an email message through an SMTP server. And then SMTP user enum. This one's a tool for enumerating operating system level user accounts on Solaris via SMTP service. That's your send mail. Enumeration is performed by inspecting those commands that we talked about before. Now, I'm assuming you guys are just quiet because you're tired and you're trying to soak in the large amount of information. So please stop me if you have a question. DNS enumeration using zone transfer. If the target DNS server allows zone transfers, then attackers use this technique to obtain DNS server names, hosts, machine names, usernames, IP addresses, aliases, etc., assigned in that target domain. Attackers perform DNS zone transfer using tools like NSLookup, DIG, and DNS Recon. If DNS transfer setting is enabled on the target name server, it will provide DNS information, or else it will return an error saying it has failed or refuses the zone transfer. Either way, they know they've got something, and it will. Yeah, these are very compact modules. Yeah, which is why I'm trying to get through this one as quickly as possible, so you guys can get on to something that's a little more fun. DNS cache snooping. It's DNS enumeration technique whereby the attacker queries the DNS server for specific cached DNS records. There's the non-recursive method, which the attacker sends a non-recursive query by setting the recursion desired, or RD bit, in the query header to 0, which means it does not repeat. And recursive method sends the recursive query to determine the time the DNS record resides in the cache. So that tells you they basically redo it, and then it'll let you know how long it sits out there. DNSSEC zone walking. This is a DNS enumeration technique where the attacker attempts to obtain internal records of the DNS server if the DNS zone is not properly configured. Attackers use tools such as LDNS and DNS Recon to exploit this vulnerability and obtain the network information of a target domain, and then further launch internet-based attacks. So you see the red outlined commands, LDNS walk, and then DNS Recon, and these are pointed at websites, and then they have command switches there as well. So DNS enumeration. This is DNS and DNSSEC using Nmap. So the attacker uses Nmap for scanning domains and obtaining a list of subdomains, records, and IP addresses, and other valuable information from the target host. You can see the Nmap, and then you have script, and it's telling it the rest of the stuff it wants it to do. And the next one is the DNSSEC enumeration. And the attacker enumerates DNSSEC using Nmap. There's a nice two commands there, which are scripts to obtain information related to domains and their subdomains. Hang in there, there's only two more sections. IPsec enumeration. IPsec uses encapsulated security payload, authentication header, and internet key exchange to secure communication between virtual private network endpoints. Most IPsec-based VPNs use Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol, a part of IKE, to establish, negotiate, modify, and delete security associations and cryptographic keys in a VPN environment. A simple scanning for ISA, KMP, and UDP port 500 can indicate the presence of a VPN gateway. Attackers can probe further using a tool such as IKEScan to enumerate sensitive information, including encryption and hashing algorithm, authentication type, key distribution algorithm, and SA life duration. VoIP enumeration. Oh yeah, printers are insanely insecure. Yeah. VoIP uses session initiate protocol, or SIP protocol, to enable voice and video calls over IP network. SIP service generally uses UDP TCP port 2000, 2001, 5060, and 5061. VoIP enumeration provides sensitive information such as VoIP gateway servers, IP, PBX systems, client software, soft phones, VoIP phones, user agent IP addresses, and user extensions. This information can be used to launch various VoIP attacks, such as a DOS, session hijacking, caller ID spoofing, eavesdropping, spamming, or spamming over internet, or SPIT. Sorry, I have a cat claw lodged in my shoulder. Thank you for letting go. And VoIP phishing, or vishing. And you can see some examples over there. RPC enumeration, or remote procedure call, allows clients and servers to communicate in distributed client-server programs. Enumerating RPC endpoints enables attackers to identify any vulnerable services on these service ports. And you can see there's the Nmap, and then I know we talked about the other one, but it's a little hard to see the name on that one there. But it gives you the different open ports and shows you what's open there. Unix, Linux user enumeration. So there's our users, and this displays a list of users who logged on to remote machines or machines on local network. And then you have your syntax. R-who displays a list of users who are logged on to hosts on the local network. And then finger displays information about system users such as login name, real name, terminal name, idle name, login name, office location, office numbers, and then there are the switches for that. Telnet and SMB enumeration. If the telnet port is found open, first of all, your security person really needs a remedial course if that's left open. Attackers can access shared information, including the hardware and software information of the target. Telnet enumeration enables attackers to exploit identified vulnerabilities and perform brute force attacks to gain unauthorized access to the target and launch further attacks. And you can see here, they're using Nmap. And then SMB enumeration, attacker uses SMB tools, enumeration tools like Nmap, SMB map, enum for Linux, and no Linux to perform direct scans on SMB services. running on port 445. SMB enumeration helps attackers perform OS banner grabbing on the target. FTP and TFTP enumeration. FTP transfers data in plain text, and that is something I have had to repeat numerous times to people. FTP transfers data in plain text between senders and receivers, which can lead to critical information like usernames and passwords being exposed to attackers. Attackers use Nmap to scan and enumerate the open port, which is 21, by running FTP services further use the information to launch various attacks like FTP bounce, FTP brute force, and packet sniffing. TFTP enumeration. Attackers perform TFTP enumeration using tools like port query and Nmap to extract information, such as running TFTP services and files stored on the remote server. Using this information, attackers can gain unauthorized access to the target system, steal important files, and upload malicious scripts to launch further attacks. IPv6 enumeration. This is an addressing, well, you know what IPv6 is. Attackers perform enumeration using various tools such as Enix and IPv4 Hackett on target hosts to obtain their IPv6 addresses, and then further scan and enumerate the IP addresses to detect various security problems. And you can see down there the stuff that's just circled in red, and then you can see the nice list over there on the Hackett that shows you everything. BGP enumeration, or Border Gateway Protocol. This is a routing protocol used to exchange routing and reachability information between different autonomous systems present on the internet. Attackers perform BGP enumeration using tools like Nmap and BGP Toolkit to discover IPv4 prefixes announced as the AS number and routing path followed by the target. Attackers use this information to launch various attacks such as man-in-the-middle attacks, BGP hijacking, and DOS attacks against the target. And you can see Nmap down there, they used that and it says, hey, this is open, and this is the service. And those are just some examples there. All right, last one, we're getting there. Countermeasures. So SNMP, remove the SNMP agent or turn off SNMP service. If turning off SNMP is not an option, then change default community string names, upgrade to SNMP3, which encrypts passwords and messages, implement the group policy security option called additional restrictions for anonymous connections. LDAP. By default, LDAP traffic is transmitted unsecured using SSL or star TTLS technology to encrypt the traffic. Select username different from your email address and enable account lockout. Use NT-LAN manager, Kerberos, or any basic authentication mechanism to limit access to legitimate users. NFS, implement proper permissions. Read-write must be restricted to specific users on exported file systems. Implement fire rules to block NFS port 2049. Ensure proper configuration of files such as, those are configuration files and exports, and then the host allow to protect data stored on the servers, and then turn on your log files, log the request to access the system files on your NFS server. So SMTP, configure the SMTP servers to ignore email messages to unknown recipients, exclude sensitive mail server and local host information and mail responses, disable open relay feature, limit the number of accepted connections from a source to prevent brute force attacks. SMB, disable the SMB protocol on web and DNS servers, disable SMB protocol to internet-facing servers, disable ports TCP 139 and 445 which are used by the SMB protocol, restrict anonymous access through restrict null access parameters from the Windows registry. And FTP, implement SFTP or secure FTP or FTPS, which is FTP secure, to encrypt the FTP traffic over the network. Implement strong passwords or certification-based authentication policy. Ensure that unrestricted uploading of files on the FTP server is not allowed. Disable anonymous FTP accounts if not feasible, regularly monitoring anonymous FTP accounts. I'm reading this more loudly because I have seen this happen in multiple environments where they do not do this. All right, DNS. Restrict resolver access, randomize source ports, audit DNS zones, and, like most of the things that we've repeated, patch known vulnerabilities, monitor name servers, restrict DNS zone transfers, separate resolver and authoritative name servers, use isolated DNS servers, disable DNS recursion. So you remember us talking about that, how they use DNS recursion attacks. This one, they just straight up disabled it. Harden the operating system, use VPN, implement two-factor authentication. I know that might seem dumb to us because, we should all be using that, but there are a lot of places that just don't. Use DNS changelog, use DNSSEC, or use premium DNS registration. Okay. Let me stop share there. So that is it for the lecture portion. Oh, grumpy, angry cat. Go be grumpy somewhere else. Yeah, a lot of them are common sense. Don't leave it on default or factory settings. But it's still, there's a lot of them that I've run into that I'm like, you guys realize that you're using FTP? Well, yeah, you do realize that FTP transplits as plain text. What? It just makes me want to cry inside every time I've heard that. So yeah, a lot of people don't use two-factor authentication. And a lot of places, when you try to force them into it, they have an absolute fit. So this seems to us, anybody in security, like a no-brainer. But there are a lot of people that hate it.
In
What?
What's wrong with transmitting in plain text? I mean,
Right.
I like giving data.
Yeah, you want everyone to be able to read things. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's a restrictions thing. It's amazing the amount of FTP servers with plain text I've found out there that I'm like, you guys do know that they're doing this, right? So yeah. Okay, so we are going to look at, let me go out and share this page. The steganography lab. So first of all, do you guys know what steganography is? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. Example. What is steganography? Somebody. No, it's not writing about stegosauruses, but bonus point because my uncle is a paleontologist.
So it's basically where you hide words or images or something inside another, or even code within like an image or something.
Exactly. So basically it's just hiding data within data. A lot of times the most common version is hiding data within an image. So I was going to do Kali, but my Hyper-V is giving me the finger. So if you want to, this one, Stag Hide, this is a really cool one that's made for Kali. So I highly suggest if you want to play around with that one, to do that. If you're going to use Stag Hide, all you need to do is just screenshot as you go to show your progress, and then zip them and transmit it that way. For OpenStago, this one is a Windows. Let me see if they still have this one available for free download. I think they should. It's a lot of fun. It's one that I've used. Technically, yes, you could, because an iframe is just created with text. Okay. And I grabbed the wrong one, so let me go download the correct file. So this one's for Windows.
Which one was the correct one?
For the exe. The other one didn't, it just had some other files in it. And then when you install it, just take all of the generic stuff. And let me open it up. OpenStago, there we go. Let me create a. Give me just 1 second, I'm going to create a folder here. All right. Okay. This is OpenStago. So it's super easy interface, as you can see. Basically what you do is you type your message. Then you look for your file. Now you won't be able to see it because it's on a different one. It's it opens a browse. And on mine, I am going to go out and find a cutesy cat meme and use that. I'm just trying to find the correct spot. Yes, it is what I want. Apparently, I'm just going to move that over to my documents folder so it's easier to find. Documents. OpenStago JPEG. Okay, so you can see my path. Yeah, you can do it in you can do it in all sorts of things. Yeah, exactly. And that's when you're doing the forensic section, that's how you find when things are messed up. You go, why is this tiny file actually this? Okay, so you do your message. It's a bad movie quote. And then
Your name is dead.
it's from a movie. And then your output file. You can choose your 128 or what 256 for your encryption. Create a password. Second. These two. Okay, so you have to create, you have to have the file and then you have to, let me just rename and copy that one over there. Slightly different than the one that's used on Kali. Yeah, I know, I knew I had spelled it wrong, so there you go. Let's see, open statement. So I'm just basically renaming the same thing. Hidden. There we go. There you go. Okay, now it's just being removed. Oh, and that's another thing. You noticed how it bumped out two extensions? That's another thing that you can look for. Oh, and as soon as I figure out how to get the new version of this, when you give it the file to me, you'll need to give me the password so that when I extract the data to make sure that the which one your input file and output, I'll have to have the password in order to use that. Yeah, it should be a larger one. I don't know why it's decided that maybe it just wants me to use something completely different. So we'll just go find a random PNG file in my, I think I have some. Yeah, I do. There we go. Use that. All right. Okay, so when you do this, it looks like it wants a PNG, probably because of the way that's overriding it. You can go ahead and override it. I mean, we're just playing with it at this point, so. Oh, that's just rude. It might also be my security. Hold on one second. I think, yeah, it's my stupid security thing. Okay, so that's how it's supposed to work. My security is not being very helpful. So anyway, that's how that's supposed to work for OpenStago. Now, for the where is the other one? There is the StagHide, which I actually prefer. This one, in order to use it, you download, you can actually open it up and run this command sudo apt install steghide in from your command prompt in Kali. And it will download. I don't know if anyone happens to, is Zach on here? Zach's on right now. No, he's not on right now. But when you open up your Kali, this is how you do it. You get into your control, into your command prompt, and then you type sudo apt install steghide, and then it will dump everything in there. And that's at your root Kali. And then in order to get your commands, you type steghide space -- help. And this is your example of information. I will tell you when you're doing this, don't accidentally name the files, the input and output the same thing, because it will overwrite them. Because when I was playing with it the first time I did it, it does do that. So you have your EF, your embed file, you select your file to be embedded. And then, so there's your, you send it over to there, and then you have a cover file. And then there's a stego file, which is your file that you want to use there. You have different encryption parameters. There's extraction options. So this one's a lot of fun because you have a lot more options to play with here. So if you're going to play with that, just play around with it and have fun. And if you're going to do OpenStego, don't make the mistake I did. Turn off your virus scanner before you play with it, because mine did not particularly like it. So, yeah, mine, it couldn't, maybe it just only likes PNG files. No, it looks like I was using it right. Anyway, I'll play with it some more and see if there's anything else that I can do to make that a little bit easier for you guys. But yeah, I canned it because it was kept airing out thanks to my Bitwarden. It decided, no, I don't want you to do that, and it just shut it down. So I need to go uninstall that and tell it to go away. And then I'll take some screenshots so you guys can see it. So you can do either one of those steg options. And if you go out and you find another one that you're like, hey, I want to use this one, you can do that too. Just make sure that you show me where it's from, where to download it, and the steps to do that so that I can see your beginning and end products. Does that make sense to everybody? Yep. It's actually a pretty easy, there's tons of little tools like that. So those are just the two most common ones out there. So if you want to use something else and you find something else you want to use, go for it. Just pick something in the steganography field to play with. Yep, you can do a steg out. Okay, so that is it for that. For the lab portion here, I'm going to stop this here.